Hello, I'm Camilo, and I have a story to share. 2 years ago, my niece was born. It was a touching and wonderful moment. However, the shadows of concern made themselves known to her parents' faces. The issue? Money. You see, my brother is a teacher with a fixed term contract. That means that every December he goes through the uncertainty of whether he would keep his job for another year or not. If his school didn't renew the contract, then he would need to find a way to get by for like 2 months with no income. How could he provide for his family? What if no school wants him? What will he do next? Well, luckily, they did extend his contract for another year, but the story would be the same the next year. That is unacceptable. Those can't be anyone's working conditions, can they? Sadly, the answer is yes. As I did in Fuentes in 2018, approximately 54,000 teachers go through this horrible situation every year. In my opinion, that's 54,000 too much. This also is a familiar experience for Barbara Martinez, a teacher and illustrator who came up with this drawing that I will show you on screen. God, that hits hard. In an interview, she tells the website Resumen that she drew inspiration from a few colleagues that were cut off from their schools. Her objective was to illustrate the uncertainty that fixed-term or adjunct teachers feel at the end of the year. As you can see, there are two teachers hugging each other, and the letter over there on the table suggests that one of them was terminated whilst the other is providing much needed comfort. That's quite a strong image, which resonated with many teachers who shared their own stories with her. Martinez claims that this reality is a byproduct of the society we are subjected to, and it's part of the social unrest we are experiencing right now. As a final remark, she says that we walk over thin ice and we got used to it, which is wrong. And I absolutely agree with her. A life of uncertainty, a life of walking over minefields, a life of normalized suffering, that's no way of living. All this reflects the precarious situations many teachers must soldier on, try to survive in a dysfunctional system that was never meant for them. It was never meant for us. And it doesn't end there. In 2019, Cantillana Barañado and Portilla Vázquez conducted a study with 180 academics in university. The results show that 84% of them were either adjunct teachers or had fixed-term contracts. Ergo, this issue affects teachers in different grades and levels of education, which supports the idea of a systematic problem instead of a localized, isolated one. So far, the picture looks really bleak, right? Well, this doesn't mean teachers have been sitting idle all this time. For many years, there has been diverse long strikes and mobilizations going back as early as 1968. In that year, teachers rejected the payment adjustment. Almost 40 years later, in 2009, Another strike that lasted 27 days took place where teachers demanded the payment of historical debt. Then, in 2014, arose the Rebellion de las Bases, in which teachers rejected the agreement between Jaime Gajardo and the government because said concession didn't quite meet all of their demands. Soon after, in 2015, educators showed their discontent with the project Carrera Docente. Last, but definitely not least, once again in 2019, teachers went on a strike whilst they were negotiating their petitions without much success until both parties conceded. All this according to Ramirez in 2019, and I swear that's not me. All these actions can be considered as a response to the prevalent conditions that teachers must work under, namely stress, insecurity, and economic instability, according to Terachi in 2012. That's a lot of protest and unconformity in the span of just a few decades. Fortunately, all these struggles were not in vain. In October of 2019, the Act 21,176 got approved, which grants teachers with hourly extensions of their contract the possibility of securing the total number of hours in only one contract. Furthermore, this initiative would aspire to extend fixed-term contracts including the months of January and February, considering that teachers have been employed for longer than 6 consecutive months, of course. As you can see on A Ley Reconocimiento de Horas 2019. So, this means that educators with this type of contract would no longer need to be concerned about getting fired during the summer. So, yeah. Despite that, it doesn't guarantee that they'll be rehired for the following year. So, not so, yeah. Even so, it is a great advancement in easing the worrying minds of those who dreaded the change of calendars. Overall, this act will start tackling the issue of economic instability. However, it is only one step of a very long journey towards dignified working conditions. There's still a lot to do in the future. In conclusion, the job conditions of a teacher are quite precarious, especially for those who are adjunct or have fixed-term contracts. They don't really know if they'll have a job or a stable source of income for the incoming year. So they do walk over thin ice every single December. As Terachi says again in 2012, their workload is increased by the pressure of instability, stress and insecurity, which logically would have an impact on their overall mental health and academic performance. As a response, teachers have manifested their discontent by means of strikes and demonstrations over the span of roughly 50 years. And all of these attempts to improve their situation have proven rather successful, albeit slowly. Yeah, it feels like not much has been done in 50 years, to be honest. But yeah, there has been success by all the agreements reached in each particular occasion, being the Act 21,176 in 2019, their most recent achievement. All in all, educators seem to be headed on the right track towards solutions for the reflecting issues. There's so much to do still, but let us hope that they'll eventually reach the light at the end of the tunnel and their grievances will become a thing of the past.